And welcome back to Let's Play Disgaea, Hour of Darkness. So this is going to be a little bonus video going over something that honestly I've put off for a while, mostly because it hasn't really been too terribly relevant right now. But I've finally unlocked a build that I actually want to pass, and I figured now's a good time to go over how the Dark Assembly works. I showed it off briefly at the very beginning of the Let's Play, and basically, since then, the only time I've ever come in here is to show off promotion exams. But, obviously, the big thing with Dark Assembly is passing bills that will allow you to do so much more with the game than if you just ignored it completely. And we've got the first post-game map unlocked, so I figured this is a good time to show off the mechanics of the Dark Assembly in a bit better detail, and hopefully I can actually pass this bill. So, the first major thing about the Dark Assembly is that there is a pretty huge list of senators that can attend your bills, and based on your current promotion rank, that will determine the strength of the senators and how many actually appear in your assembly. And they all have varying degrees of opinion on what you're trying to pass. Now, the way this works is that senators of higher level give you more, or rather have more sway with passing a bill. So if I want to pass a bill, I want to make sure that the highest leveled senators, like this one right here, or this one over here, are on my side. And to do that, I bribe them. Now, here I've just picked up a bunch of junk items that I don't care about. And basically the way bribing works is that every senator has a preferred basically, they have a preference for a certain rarity number, and this is basically the only other effect that rarity has in this game, is that each senator in the game prefers a certain range of rarity. And if you wanted to, you could write down each senator and what rarities give them the most amount of points. Here, this senator must have this item, and this is the most amount of points you can get for giving them. So they went from strongly against to leaning no, which is a huge jump. That's like 3 preference ranks right there. I don't remember the exact values, but suffice to say, it's a significant increase. And the higher their basically favor with the bill is, the more likely they are to vote yes. And while it's not always guaranteed they'll vote yes, generally having it around like strongly in favor of, that's a good place to have them. They'll generally vote yes there. Now, one thing that kind of stinks about Disgaea Hour of Darkness is that you don't get an exact percentage value of your likelihood to pass a bill, so it can be a bit difficult, especially with bills like this that are relatively expensive in the mana cost. Now, say you don't feel like bribing all these senators. There is an alternate method, and we're probably going to fail passing this because this is a difficult bill to pass. But we'll just do this the intended way first, or at least attempt to. Look for all the stuff that he likes. The tough thing about bribing in this game is that the maximum number of items you can carry is 16, and as you can see, I've already used up all the stuff he cared about. So it can be a bit of a tedious process bribing senators. I should have really been looking for one in the front row, because a very specific reason you want high-leveled senators in the front row on your side. And this guy's a decent level. He's already in favor of. Let's just push him up a bit. Yeah, that'll do. So since it's entirely dependent on the rarity of the item, just use junk items of varying rarities. That'll do you fine. And like I said, each senator has a preferred range of numbers, so if you take down the rarity numbers and look for what they must have, you can actually always have the items they want when you come into an assembly. But that's very tedious because there's like 300 senators, so it would take a while to get them all. Oh, that was pretty good luck there. Alright, so we've got a good number of high-leveled senators on their side. Probability favors at least one of them is going to vote yes. So here's the voting process where it tallies up all the votes. Now, one thing that's different about Disgaea Hour of Darkness compared to future Disgaea titles, you actually need a 2/3 majority of yes votes in order to get a bill passed. In future Disgaea titles, all you need is that simply you have more aggregate points for yay rather than nay. Basically more than 50%, but here you need a 2/3 majority, which kind of stinks. So here's the chance we've got to swing this around. Persuade by force. And we're going to do that. Now, as you've probably noticed, most of these guys are way stronger than me, so trying to do this in a fair fight, I would get my ass handed to me. And this is actually really good. Only 3 of them voted nay, so I've got quite a bit of leverage here. So what I'm going to do is totally cheese this fight. Basically, something you can do is, by picking up senators, you can throw them into each other and fuse them just like in standard maps. And if you take a nay senator and throw him into a higher leveled yay senator, then that senator gets fused into the yay senator who sticks around and is still voting for you. So that's very good. And this works like a standard battle otherwise. We can deploy 10 units, and while some of my units are going to get destroyed, I don't have to worry too much because there's only 3 of these guys and I've got 10 to work with, so just through raw attrition I should be able to put this around in my favor. And these guys, oh, there's 4 of them. These guys don't have equipment, so they don't hit too terribly hard, but the really high leveled ones can give you a bit of problems. Like right there, this is the highest leveled center, level 121. Bit of a rough thing to have to deal with. So I'm just going to throw all these guys into this guy. And as you can see, this guy outlevels this guy, so if I threw him into this stump right now, I'd render this bill completely unwinnable. So what I have to do is throw this guy into him first, which will bring up this guy's level higher than this guy's. And that'll allow me to throw him into him and actually do this properly. And you know what? I'll just sacrifice Laharl for the sake of this, just so they can move in closer and make this a bit easier. In theory, I could have my team defeat this guy, but because he's got over 7,000 HP and decent defense, that would take a while. I'll create a tower of my junk thieves here in order to get this over. So this is a little tedious, but well worth it, as you'll see. Okay. Then take out another junk thief. Throw out my junk thief, or rather my dedicated thief, who might be able to survive a hit. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter too much. You can also pick up the Yay Senator and throw him around in order to get these fusions, but just be careful, because if you throw him and he doesn't actually land on anyone, that'll switch him to Nay. And actually, if any Yay Senator gets hit by an area of an effect attack from a Nay Senator, that will also cause them to switch sides, which is pretty unfair, but not much you can do about that. But I've just about got this. This is the last Nay Senator, and now my Yay Senator is high enough level that I can just throw him into him. Now, normally when you kill Senators who are against you, they will be even further against you because you killed them. But because this method doesn't technically kill them, you don't lose favor with them for doing it. So that's pretty nice. Now let's just throw him in here, and we've passed the bill. So now I can go to the first post-game map in Prinnyland, and honestly, it's very difficult to pass most of the post-game map bills just because naturally most of the senators are very against it. And in order to pass it, like, legitimately, you'd have to spend quite a bit of time bribing all the senators, and generally it's just more of a hassle than it's worth. You just want to get like a high-leveled senator and hope that you mostly get yays. Generally the lower level senators will do that for you, and then you don't have to worry too much about getting the bill passed. And while we've already passed the bill, we don't ever have to pass it again. It's still on the list just because it's programmed to be there. So, there's one other thing I was going to mention. Yes. In Disgaea Hour of Darkness, there actually is a penalty for persuading by force too much. But you'd have to persuade by force a ton of times to actually see it. Basically, if you use the option 100 times, then you get a bad ending when you complete the game. But there's only about 6 or 7 post-game map proposals that you need to pass, and those are the only ones that really you would actually have to use persuade by force. So it's you'd have to grind it out to see that ending, basically. There was one more thing that I was gonna mention. Oh, jeez. Oh, this one was actually important. Ugh, blanking. Give me a moment. I'm so sorry about this. It was important. Crap. Was it something about... Ah, yes, now I remember. Sorry about that. Basically, when you're trying to pass a bill, it helps if you have someone who's the minimum possible rank that is able to pass it, go for it, because that way you can... the amount of senators that attend a bill passing, or I suppose a congregation, the amount of senators that attend it and both their level are dependent on the rank of the character trying to pass that bill. So, say I tried to have Laharl pass a more expensive items bill, the senators would be much like the ones I had for the Prinnyland map, you know, a couple in the levels of the hundreds, and generally just stronger senators who I have less favor with. If I had, say, who else can I have pass it? Etna attempt to, she's not the proper rank, but you get the idea. If I had Etna try to pass it at the basic rank she could do it, the senators would be much lower level, and I'd have a much easier time bribing them. And I just suppose just to show it off, you can check the senator list. And this gives you a basically a clear list of all the senators. Right now there's only 92 possible, so I could bribe a lot of these guys if I wanted to, just by doing the raise military funds bill, but it's not really necessary. And as you can see, they all have varying levels of favor. I believe how much they favor a bill does depend on the character who's trying to pass it, like the bribes are specific to the character who uses them, but generally you're only trying to pass bills with one character, so that's rarely comes up. But yeah, that's the basics of how the Dark Congress works, Dark Assembly, whatever you want to call it. So I hope I was able to inform you a little bit better on how it works, and while I haven't been passing bills besides expensive stuff too often, at this point in the game we're actually going to start getting a ton of bills that we're actually going to want to pass, and I figured it would be a good time to explain how it works. So I hope this was informative, and I do have another few bonus videos that I've planned in the pipeline, so hopefully I'll get to those soon, and I'll get to another main update. And I hope you enjoyed watching. Until next time, see ya.